In the delicate dance of attraction, many women unknowingly step on their own toes, not because they lack beauty, intelligence, or sincerity, but because they often fall into a pattern of overcommunication, a mistake rooted in a deep desire to connect, to be seen, to be understood. When a woman finds herself intrigued by a man, be it through chemistry, conversation, or connection, it's natural to want to express affection and interest. She may want to show him who she is, explain her feelings, share her story, and prove she's the right one. But here lies the paradox. The very instinct to connect through words can sometimes create distance instead of closeness. Why does this happen? Because words, when used excessively or with underlying insecurity, don't draw people in. They push them away. Many women believe that if they explain more, open up more, reveal more, then the man will appreciate their vulnerability, reciprocate their interest, and invest in the relationship. But in practice, the opposite often occurs. The man may become distant, indifferent, or even uninterested, and the woman is left wondering, but I gave him everything. Why did he pull away? This confusion is heartbreaking because the woman's intention was pure. But here's the truth that often goes unspoken. What makes a man feel drawn to a woman, to think of her day and night, is not what she says, but what she quietly radiates. The trap of over-explaining. Over-explaining stems from a place of fear. The fear of being misunderstood, unloved, or unseen. So many women feel they need to convince a man of their worth through detailed explanations of who they are and what they feel. They over-express because they fear the silence will be misinterpreted as indifference. But it's in this over-expression that they lose their mystery and their power. Imagine a woman who constantly feels the need to say, I just want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from. I don't want you to think I'm being distant. Let me explain why I reacted that way. These statements are not harmful in themselves. In fact, they may sound emotionally intelligent. But when this kind of communication becomes a pattern, it sends an unspoken message. I don't fully trust that I am enough as I am. I need to justify myself to be accepted. And that energy, even if it's delivered with love, does not evoke attraction. It evokes emotional weight, a kind of psychological heaviness that many men do not know how to hold. Energy speaks louder than words. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychologist, said that the unconscious communicates not with words, but through symbols, dreams, gestures, and silence. This applies deeply to romantic relationships. What we do not say is often more powerful than what we do. Men, in particular, are often more attuned to non-verbal cues than we assume. They sense the energy behind your presence, the difference between a woman who is centered in herself versus one who is subtly seeking approval. When a woman speaks from insecurity, she may use beautiful language, but her energy says, I'm unsure, please validate me. When a woman is silent yet grounded, her energy says, I'm whole, I don't need to convince anyone. That silent certainty is magnetic. The loss of mystery. Another consequence of talking too much, too soon, is the loss of emotional mystery. Humans are naturally drawn to discovery. We crave what we don't yet know, what feels just out of reach, what invites us to explore. This is especially true in the early stages of romance. If a woman reveals all her fears, wounds, dreams, and intentions too quickly, she may leave no space for a man to discover her depth organically. There's no more curiosity, no more pursuit, and often, no more desire. Not because she isn't interesting, but because she didn't allow mystery to do its part. Attraction isn't about having no depth. It's about revealing your depth slowly, layer by layer, allowing the other person to feel like they're discovering a precious truth, not being handed a detailed report. Mystery doesn't mean playing games. It means trusting that your essence is strong enough to be felt without needing to be explained. The energetic shift that changes everything. When a woman shifts from explaining herself to embodying herself, everything changes. She stops trying to fill every silence with conversation. She allows pauses to exist, not with tension, but with comfort. She no longer feels the need to share every inner thought the moment it arises. And in doing so, she creates a powerful energetic presence, a presence that speaks volumes without saying a word. This is not about becoming cold or aloof. On the contrary, it's about becoming deeply warm, but inwardly self-contained. A woman who smiles softly, listens with full attention, and speaks with intention is far more captivating than one who overshares in search of reassurance. She becomes a woman of calm radiance, and that radiance is unforgettable. Inner emptiness versus inner fulfillment. At the core of this pattern is often an unconscious attempt to fill an inner void with external validation. Many women and men too chase connection from a place of emotional hunger. When they don't feel seen, they talk more. When they don't feel heard, they explain harder. When they feel insecure, they seek reassurance. But this strategy is unsustainable, because the truth is, no one can permanently fill our emotional emptiness except ourselves. And when a woman comes into her own, begins to see her value, independently of how a man responds to her, she becomes powerful. She no longer explains, she expresses. She no longer seeks, she shares. She no longer convinces, she simply is. From this space, she becomes not only attractive, but irresistible. Not because she tries, but because she no longer needs to. So if you've ever found yourself pouring your heart out to a man, only to be met with silence, if you've ever tried to explain how good of a partner you'd be, hoping he'd finally see it, if you've ever walked away wondering why he didn't appreciate how open you were, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to try a different approach. A silent one. A grounded one. An energy-first, word-second approach. Because the woman who speaks from her center, not her insecurity, who embraces pauses as moments of power, who holds her own energy like a flame in her chest, that woman does not need to be loud to be heard. She does not need to prove her worth. She simply radiates it. And when she does, he notices even in silence. In a world that constantly rewards visibility, speed, and noise, it's easy to forget that some of the most powerful forces in life are invisible, still and silent. The silent attitude is one of those forces, not loud, not obvious, and yet deeply magnetic. It's not just a behavior. It's a state of being, a way of carrying yourself, speaking less but saying more, being still but never unnoticed. So what exactly is the silent attitude? It is the embodiment of inner wholeness. A woman who lives this way doesn't need to explain, convince, or perform to gain love or attention. She is rooted, present, and self-contained. She is like a flame in still air, calm, controlled, yet undeniably alive. This doesn't mean she is mute or expressionless. Quite the opposite. Her emotions are present, her eyes speak, her presence fills the room. But she does not broadcast her inner world to win approval. She communicates energy first, words second. The essence of the silent attitude. The silent attitude is not about being cold, manipulative, or emotionally distant. It is not a performance or a strategy to play hard to get. It's not about being unavailable or mysterious for the sake of control. It is a natural result of emotional maturity, self-awareness, and self-worth. When a woman has done the inner work to accept herself fully, deeply, she no longer needs others to define her value. She becomes emotionally independent, and that is where her silent power begins. She becomes the woman who can sit in silence with a man without discomfort, can be present without constantly reaching for her phone or words to fill the space, can receive attention without needing to amplify it, can walk away from what doesn't serve her without drama. She is still, but she is not passive. She is open, but she is not needy. She is aware, but she does not react impulsively. This kind of woman doesn't chase. She attracts. Confidence without performance. There's a significant difference between confidence that's performed and confidence that's embodied. Many people confuse loudness with confidence, the ability to command attention, speak boldly, take up space. While these can be powerful traits, the most captivating kind of confidence is the one that needs no external proof. A woman with a silent attitude walks into a room and doesn't need to announce herself, people feel her presence. She is confident in her opinions, but not combative. She doesn't interrupt to be heard. She listens and speaks with weight. Her voice is calm, her body language is open, and her energy is self-contained. She doesn't need to speak often, because when she does, it matters. This quiet confidence makes her stand out. She isn't trying to be liked. She simply is at peace with who she is. And this peace is magnetic. Rooted in the self, the Jungian perspective, Carl Jung spoke of a powerful psychological process called individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are by integrating all parts of the self, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow. This is at the core of the silent attitude. A woman who has walked the path of self-discovery no longer hides behind masks. She has made peace with her imperfections, her past, and her desires. She is not fragmented. She is whole. That wholeness translates into not needing to impress, not seeking constant reassurance, not fearing rejection, not bending herself to be chosen. And when a woman stands in this space of inner unity, she radiates a presence that is powerful without being loud. Men feel this even if they can't articulate it. They sense they are in the presence of a woman who is not easily swayed. She is not begging to be loved. She is inviting love to meet her where she stands. What the silent attitude is not. To truly understand the silent attitude, we must clarify what it is not. There's a fine line between healthy silence and emotional unavailability, between calm presence and cold detachment. Let's break down the difference. Silent attitude is not. Rooted in self-worth, rooted in fear or avoidance. Calm and present, emotionally shut down. Slow to speak but listening. Withdrawn or passive-aggressive. Open to connection, but not desperate, playing games to manipulate. Speaks with purpose and timing, withholding as a power play. The silent attitude is not a mask. It is your authentic self, stripped of fear and performance. Stillness is a signal. What we often overlook is how much stillness communicates. In nature, stillness is a sign of power. The ocean can be calm yet infinitely deep. A lion can rest under a tree for hours, yet exude undeniable dominance. True strength does not need to be loud, and the same is true in relationships. When a woman is still, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, she creates a field of gravity around her. She becomes the invitation, not the seeker. She does not interrupt the rhythm of a conversation to insert her insecurities. She does not fill every pause with chatter. She does not reveal everything about herself on the first date. She gives space. She allows discovery. She builds tension, not with games, but with graceful restraint. This makes a man feel something. Rare in today's fast-paced world, the desire to pursue. Emotional self-regulation, the foundation of mystery. The silent attitude is only possible when a woman has mastered the art of emotional self-regulation. She feels deeply, but she's not ruled by her emotions. She can feel triggered and still choose her response. She can feel desire and still hold space. She can feel fear and still stay grounded in her worth. This level of emotional sovereignty creates an unshakable presence. She does not chase clarity, she becomes clarity. She does not react to uncertainty. She becomes the calm within it. And it's this emotional groundedness that makes her irresistible. When you become the mystery. In the beginning of attraction, mystery is one of the most powerful forces. It's not about being secretive. It's about being whole enough to reveal yourself slowly. A woman with the silent attitude doesn't need to post every thought or share every fear. Her life is full. Her heart is open. But her boundaries are clear. This controlled openness, this inner balance between sharing and holding back, keeps a man curious. He senses that there's more to discover, that she is not immediately accessible, not because she's hiding, but because she's honoring the timing of emotional intimacy. And this changes everything. He begins to lean in. He begins to listen more. He begins to respect the space she gives herself. Because now the invitation is felt, not spoken. The silent attitude is not a tactic. It is a way of being. It is what happens when a woman chooses to be centered rather than scattered, calm rather than performative, present rather than persuasive. She no longer tries to win a man's attention. She invites it, through her presence, her gaze, her ease. And in a world full of noise, A woman who radiates silence with confidence becomes unforgettable. Not because she chased love, but because she became the kind of woman love seeks out. We live in a culture that prioritizes speaking, explaining, and verbal expression, where people often equate connection with constant communication. But in truth, some of the deepest, most memorable interactions in life happen in silence, in a look, a pause, a small gesture. This is the realm of nonverbal language, and it is here that the silent attitude reveals its full power. Words can lie. Words can be rehearsed, but the body, the energy you emit, that doesn't lie. When a woman truly embraces the silent attitude, what captivates a man isn't necessarily what she says. It's how she says nothing, how her gaze lingers, how she smiles without effort, how she moves with calm purpose. These subtle cues speak to his unconscious mind. They bypass logic and go straight into emotion, which is where real attraction lives. The gaze more than just looking. Your eyes speak. They say things your mouth never needs to. And for a man, a woman's gaze can be the first doorway into emotional connection. But not all gazes are the same. There is the gaze that seeks validation, quick, uncertain, checking for reactions. And then there is the gaze that holds its ground, soft, open, clear, and unhurried. This gaze doesn't chase. It observes. It invites without asking. A woman who looks at a man without fear, without flinching, without needing him to respond a certain way. That woman radiates confidence. She is not looking for something in him. She is simply present with him. That kind of gaze leaves an impression, not because it's seductive, but because it's secure. When a woman maintains eye contact while still staying grounded in herself, a man feels that. He feels seen, but not overwhelmed. He feels invited, but not chased. And more than that, he feels something deeper. Respect. The smile, subtle power. There are many kinds of smiles. There's the smile you give because you're nervous. The one you use to be polite. The one that's forced because you feel obligated to please. But then there's the quiet smile. The one that emerges gently, naturally, often without conscious thought. It's not a tactic. It's not a tool. It's a reflection of inner peace. This kind of smile doesn't scream, "Pick me." It whispers, "I feel good in myself and I enjoy this moment." A subtle, relaxed smile is incredibly powerful because it creates emotional ease. It tells a man, "I'm not here to take from you. I'm whole on my own." That's a kind of energy that allows connection to unfold without pressure. The art of listening, presence over performance. In a world where most people listen just to reply, true listening becomes a rare gift. And it's a key part of the silent attitude. When a woman listens, really listens, without interrupting, without trying to steer the conversation, without mentally preparing what she's going to say next, something shifts. She becomes a sanctuary. A man feels safe in her presence. Not judged, not analyzed, not outperformed. He feels witnessed. That kind of listening doesn't come from silence alone. It comes from presence. Most people underestimate the power of being with someone who is fully there. Not waiting for their turn to speak. Not checking their phone. Not chasing the next moment. True presence is magnetic. It builds trust. It creates intimacy without needing to say a word. And when you combine presence with the ability to be quiet, to let a moment breathe, you create a space most men never get to experience. A space they long to return to. Body language, how you move speaks volumes. Have you ever noticed how some women command attention without trying? How they can simply walk into a room, sit down, or lean against a wall, and heads turn. That's not because of what they're wearing. It's not because of the volume of their voice. It's because of their embodied energy. A woman's posture, gestures, and physical stillness all reflect her internal state. If her shoulders are tense, if her movements are fast or fidgety, if her posture is closed, it sends a signal of discomfort or insecurity. But when she stands tall, walks with grace, and moves with purpose, even slowly, she communicates strength without aggression. This doesn't mean you have to be poised all the time, but it does mean that your body mirrors your emotions. And cultivating inner peace reflects directly in how you physically move through the world. The voice, tone over words. Your voice, its tone, pace, and rhythm carries more emotional data than the content of your sentences. A woman with the silent attitude doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. Her words are few, but they are clear, deliberate, and sincere. There is no rush, no pressure, just clarity. A high-pitched, fast, nervous tone often reveals inner anxiety, even if the words being said are confident. But a slow, calm, grounded tone tells the listener, "I'm okay. I'm not performing. I trust myself." This voice draws a man in. It doesn't trigger defensiveness or overwhelm. It soothes. It creates emotional space. Touch, the most honest language. One of the most primal forms of nonverbal communication is touch. But here, too, intention matters more than action. A soft touch on the arm, a brief hand on the shoulder. These simple gestures can communicate more warmth and closeness than a long conversation. But if a woman uses touch to seek validation, to force closeness, or to manipulate emotion, it loses its power. Touch must come from overflow, not from lack. When a woman touches because she feels full, it lands as a gift. When she touches from emptiness, it feels like a request. The silent attitude embraces intentional intimacy, not constant affection, but meaningful, rare moments that leave a lasting imprint. The sum of it all, a silent symphony. When a woman practices the silent attitude, every aspect of her nonverbal language aligns. Her eyes, her smile, her posture, her breath, her voice, they all work together in harmony. This creates an energy that a man cannot forget. He might not even know why he keeps thinking about her. He might say, "There's just something about her." That something is the silent symphony she creates with her presence. It's not a game. It's not a tactic. It's authenticity embodied. And in a world of overexposure and oversharing, it's rare. Rare enough to captivate. So much of what we're taught about communication centers on words. But if you truly want to connect, deeply, lastingly, irresistibly, you must master the language beyond words. The woman who understands this doesn't talk her way into a man's heart. She walks into his unconscious and stays there. Not through persuasion, not through explanation, but through presence, stillness, energy. She becomes the pause he longs for in a noisy world. The calm he didn't know he needed. The mystery that doesn't ask to be solved, only experienced. And in that silence she says everything. To truly understand why the silent attitude has such a lasting and profound effect on men, you have to step beyond surface level dating advice and into the realm of male psychology. It's here, in the subconscious patterns and emotional wiring of the male mind, that we find the real answer to this question. Why does a woman who says less, who holds herself with calm, grounded mystery, stay in a man's thoughts far longer than one who constantly communicates? The answer lies not in manipulation or emotional withholding, but in something much more powerful: how the male brain responds to space, uncertainty, effort, and energy. Let's explore the psychology behind it. 1. Men value what they must earn. It's a simple truth often ignored in modern dating. Men are wired to value what they pursue. In male psychology, there is a deeply ingrained mechanism that equates effort with value. It's not about ego or conquest, it's about investment. What a man has to work for, he values. What comes too easily, he often takes for granted. When a woman tries to earn his love by constantly proving herself, explaining or emotionally overextending, she short-circuits this dynamic. She gives without allowing him to reach. She offers answers before he even has questions. But a woman who holds herself with quiet grace and space, who doesn't reveal everything up front, invites his natural instinct to engage. He starts thinking, who is she really? What's behind her stillness? How can I win her trust? This isn't a game. It's a deeply human need. For challenge, for meaning, for discovery. The silent attitude awakens this pursuit energy in him, because she does not hand herself over immediately. She creates emotional gravity. 2. Mystery activates curiosity and desire. The human brain is designed to solve problems and fill in blanks. In male psychology, this need for understanding is especially strong when it comes to attraction. Men are drawn to what they don't fully understand. to emotional landscapes that feel rich and layered. When a woman over-explains herself, answers every emotional question, and constantly offers insights into what she thinks and feels, she removes mystery. She gives away the story before he's even bought the book. But when she embodies silence, when she's not quick to reveal every detail, when she shows emotional depth without flooding him with it, his brain starts working. He wants to understand her. He starts imagining her inner world. He builds an emotional connection through curiosity. Carl Jung called this archetypal projection, when the mind fills in gaps with idealized or symbolic meaning. In attraction, this means a man begins to see a woman as more than just her actions. She becomes a feeling, a mystery that lives inside him. That's the difference between being liked and being unforgettable. 3. Men respond to energy, not just words. Male psychology is deeply nonverbal. From a young age, boys are taught, consciously or unconsciously, to minimize emotional expression. As a result, many men become more attuned to nonverbal cues than words. They may not always listen to what you say, but they feel the energy you bring. A woman with a silent, grounded attitude transmits a clear, calming frequency. Her presence is peaceful. Her gaze is steady. Her voice is slow and intentional. This kind of energy soothes a man's nervous system. It makes him feel safe. It allows him to relax, to open, to feel more like himself in her presence. Compare that to high energy, anxious communication, constant talking, fast explanations, emotional volatility. That energy can feel overwhelming to a man, even if he's interested. He doesn't always know why he pulls away. He just knows he feels tired or pressured. The silent attitude offers the opposite. It regulates his energy, and in that calm, he feels more connection, not less. 4. Controlled uncertainty creates emotional engagement. Here's a truth most dating advice never talks about. Certainty kills desire. Uncertainty activates it. When a man knows exactly what you feel, what you'll do next, how you'll react, when you remove all emotional ambiguity, his brain shifts from interest to familiarity. And while familiarity is safe, it doesn't excite. Controlled uncertainty, not games, not manipulation, but space, creates a healthy tension in his mind. He starts asking, is she interested? What's she thinking? Why does her energy stay with me even when she's gone? This tension is not negative. It's creative. It drives him to engage, to think, to lean in. The silent attitude gives him space to wonder, and that wondering builds connection faster than any long conversation ever could. 5. He begins to respect you without needing to understand you. There is a powerful moment in every relationship when a man realizes, this woman values herself more than she needs my attention. That's the moment he starts to respect you, truly and deeply. Respect is the foundation of real intimacy. Without it, even the strongest desire fades. A woman who speaks less, who doesn't try to convince or chase, signals to a man's subconscious, I will not abandon myself to win you. You must meet me in my wholeness. This boundary is silent but unmistakable. And because men often equate value with strength, this kind of woman becomes not just attractive, but deeply admirable. She challenges him to rise, not through pressure, not through criticism, but simply by being who she is. 6. You stop feeding toxic dynamics. When you embody the silent attitude, you automatically step out of toxic relationship cycles. You're no longer over-explaining to be heard, chasing clarity through words, filling silence out of fear, accepting breadcrumbs of attention. Instead, you send this message clearly and without drama. I trust myself. I will not beg. I will not perform. I am at peace. This disarms manipulative behaviors. It diffuses emotional games. A man who thrives on control will either transform or exit. And either way, you win. Because you're no longer participating in dysfunction. You're leading with presence, not performance. 7. His inner world shifts in your presence. Finally, when you live the silent attitude fully, something deeper happens. He starts to reflect. Your calmness becomes a mirror. In your silence, he hears his own thoughts. In your non-reactivity, he's forced to feel his own emotions. He becomes more self-aware, And when a man becomes more self-aware in your presence, the connection transforms. It's no longer about validation or chemistry. It becomes growth-oriented, respectful and conscious. You've created a space where he wants to bring his best, where he wants to be honest, where he feels both challenged and inspired. That's the kind of relationship that goes beyond infatuation, into real, soul-deep connection. The silent attitude works not because it manipulates, but because it speaks the language that male psychology actually hears: energy, space, mystery, and calm presence. When you live from your center, when you trust your worth enough to be still, something incredible happens. He feels you, not just hears you. He seeks you, not because you chased, but because you didn't. He respects you, not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. The woman who embodies this kind of silence isn't forgettable. She doesn't need to repeat herself to be remembered. She becomes the feeling he cannot name, the mystery that lives quietly in his chest. The reason he returns, again and again, not because she spoke louder, but because she radiated deeper. Now that you understand the silent attitude and why it works so powerfully, not only within relationships but within your own soul, the next question is, how do you embody it? How do you shift from seeking attention to naturally drawing it? How do you radiate calm confidence, especially when emotions are high or when you feel insecure? And most importantly, how do you stay centered and magnetic without pretending or performing? The silent attitude is not about being passive or withholding. It's not about faking confidence or playing it cool to get a reaction. That's manipulation. And true magnetism never needs manipulation. The silent attitude is an inner state that becomes your outer energy. It's not something you do. It's something you live. Below are practical and powerful ways to practice this attitude, until it becomes second nature. 1. Speak less, say more. In everyday conversations, train yourself to speak with intention, not just habit. Ask yourself before speaking, is this being said from centeredness or from nervousness? Do I really need to explain this, or am I trying to gain reassurance? Is this the right moment, or am I speaking out of discomfort with silence? Becoming selective with your words doesn't mean holding back your truth. It means delivering it with clarity and power. A woman who speaks less but says more with her energy, her eyes, and her calmness is far more impactful than one who tries to convince through endless words. Start small. Pause before responding. Leave room for silence in conversations. Allow others to speak without rushing to add your thoughts. The space you leave will speak for you. 2. Practice conscious listening. Most people listen to reply, but when you shift into listening to understand, you become rare and magnetic. True listening is silent. It doesn't try to fix, perform, or prove. Here's how to practice it. Make eye contact and stay present. Don't interrupt or think ahead to your response. Drop into the energy of the other person and simply witness. When a woman listens like this, quietly, attentively, without agenda, she becomes unforgettable. She becomes a space, not just a person. Men open up more in this kind of space. They feel safe. And safety is what leads to emotional intimacy. 3. Use silence as a tool, not a void. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it. But silence, when held with confidence, becomes a magnetic force. Here's how to shift your relationship with silence. Allow pauses in conversations. Don't apologize for moments of quiet. Feel the discomfort and remain grounded in it. If a man says something and you don't know how to respond, you can simply breathe, hold his gaze, and say nothing for a few seconds. That stillness communicates more than a rushed explanation ever could. It says, I don't need to react right now. I am centered. I will respond with intention. This changes the emotional dynamic completely. 4. Breathe before you react. Emotions are natural, but how you respond to them defines your energy. Before speaking, especially in moments of stress, rejection, or conflict, train yourself to pause and breathe. A slow breath into your belly can calm your nervous system, center your thoughts, prevent reactive words. That one breath creates distance between stimulus and response. And that space is power. It's where emotional maturity lives. Over time, this habit will train your body to remain calm in emotionally charged situations, and your calmness will feel like stability to others, especially to men who may be emotionally overwhelmed or uncertain themselves. 5. Embody stillness in your body language. Your posture and presence say everything about how you feel inside. You can cultivate the silent attitude physically. Walk slowly and with intention. Avoid fidgeting or overly expressive movements. Maintain open, relaxed posture. Let your gaze be soft, yet unwavering. The goal is not stiffness. The goal is calm embodiment, a woman who feels safe within her own skin. Start by becoming more aware of your body during conversations. Are you leaning in anxiously? Are your shoulders tense? Are your hands nervous? Release the tension. Relax. Let yourself be rooted, like a tree, not a feather in the wind. 6. Create a fulfilled life, outside of romance. The most magnetic women don't make men the center of their emotional world. They are deeply fulfilled within themselves. Their life is rich, with or without a partner. To cultivate this kind of energy, prioritize your passions and creative outlets. Cultivate strong female friendships. Engage in physical and spiritual self-care. Journal, meditate, and reflect regularly. This gives your energy depth, and depth creates attraction. When your life is full, you become less reactive and more selective. You don't chase because you don't need to. You're already full, and this fullness cannot be faked. Men sense it instantly. It feels like confidence. It feels like peace. It feels like a home they want to be near. 7. Set clear emotional boundaries, quietly. One of the biggest misconceptions about feminine energy is that it's all about being soft, nurturing, and accepting. But true feminine power includes boundaries. The silent attitude means saying no without explanation, leaving when your standards are not met, protecting your peace without emotional drama. Boundaries don't need to be loud to be respected. In fact, the quieter they are, the more powerful they feel. You can say, "I don't engage in conversations that feel disrespectful to me," and walk away. You don't need to justify. You don't need to yell. You just need to honor yourself. This signals to a man that he must rise to meet you. Not because you demand it, but because you quietly expect it. 8. Live with sacred slowness. In a fast world, slowing down is radical. It tells the world, I do not chase. I do not rush. I trust life to unfold for me. Slow down how you walk, speak, respond, breathe. Reveal yourself emotionally. This sacred slowness is the essence of the silent attitude. It gives others time to feel you, not just hear you. It allows emotional resonance to build. It creates space for real connection. It's what makes a man think of you even when you're not around. Because you didn't rush the story. You let it breathe. The silent attitude is not about being quiet. It's about becoming a woman whose presence speaks more loudly than her words ever could. She moves with grace, speaks with intention, holds space without fear, communicates through energy, not performance, lives from fullness, not need. This is not a trick to attract a man. This is a return to yourself. And when a woman lives in this silent, grounded, radiant state, she becomes unforgettable. She's the pause in his thoughts, the calm in his storm, the mystery that pulls him deeper. You don't need to be louder to be heard. You don't need to be more expressive to be seen. You just need to be. The rest speaks for itself. If this message resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe now and join a growing community of women who are reclaiming their power, not by being louder, but by becoming more grounded, radiant, and unforgettable. Every week, you'll receive insights, tools, and inspiration to help you embody your silent strength, deepen your self-worth, and connect with others from a place of calm, magnetic presence. If you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, not only in love, but in every part of your life. Then hit that subscribe button and take the first step toward becoming the woman you were always meant to be. Subscribe. Stay centered. Be remembered, even in silence.